What is up, everybody? Keith, aka Gator Guy 231. It is Tuesday, August 18th, breaking down the 4-game DraftKings NBA slate. Got 4 game ones to go over, and let's just jump right into it. I think there are some obvious values, once again, like we saw yesterday, that like in cash games are going to be very, very highly owned. But, you know, as you go through different GPPs, maybe play some lower dollar or single entries, maybe you see some people trying to get off of that chalk and onto some different lineups. So let's go over how we are going to build and hopefully win some cash. So let's start with the first game of the day, which is Orlando versus Milwaukee. That game has a 225 total, Milwaukee minus 12.5. So let's talk about right away the first decision of the slate that you're going to – actually, let me do this before I go in the game. There's no Russell Westbrook, so we all know that the slate – the first guy in your lineup needs to be James Harden everywhere. So I just want to bring that up as I'm going through things. Like, I do not see a route that you're not playing James Harden. He legitimately has a 100-point upside here. And, you know, probably his floor is like 60 to 70. DraftKings did not price him to like 14,000. I actually was wondering when I pulled up the slate, were they going to make him like 14 or 15K? They did not. So despite the presence of Giannis, despite the presence of LeBron, despite the presence of Anthony Davis, the first guy in your lineup is James Harden, and you've got to figure it out from there. So with that said, the next big decision is, are you going to play Giannis? Obviously, when we pull up a Giannis game log, shock to no one, despite not playing huge minutes, he always produces. The Magic might be without Aaron Gordon, who is like the only able body they could even like try to annoy Giannis with. I don't think he would do a great job, but the likes of Gary Clark, James Ennis, like they're not going to cut it. Kim Birch, they're not going to cut it. Giannis should absolutely go crazy. The only thing is can the Magic actually make this a game long enough to give Giannis, you know, his 70 to 80 point ceiling? I worry that they might not be able to, but I think there are some obvious routes that you can do it. And what's really going to come down to is, do you want Giannis? Do you want LeBron? Or do you want Davis? Or, you know, the other route is obviously, do you want more balance? But I guess here's what I would say. I landed on a build when I built this that Giannis fits perfectly like a glove. So I'm debating it, but I'm going to go over my Anthony Davis thoughts later. I think Davis could actually go even more in fuego than Giannis. I actually tried to say his last name. That would have been a mistake. But, yeah, it's really close. But, like, you know, if I had to project, I'd say Giannis is in that 65 to 75 range. So it's hard to not play him. Let's talk about the other options. You're not going to play Nick Vucevic on the slate. I guess I'll start on the Milwaukee side. You're not Middleton is fine at 7,300 if you want to go balance build, but if you're already debating whether you're going to play Giannis or not, then you're probably not going to play Middleton. Bledsoe 5,400. I think that's one of the values on the slate that you could really, really think on. He started looking a little bit more like Eric Bledsoe at the end of the bubble. He had the 2 games before Memphis, which you guys got to toss out these last games for all these teams, except for like Portland. But Toronto played 30 minutes, 33 DK. Dallas, 31 minutes, 26 DK. We know Bledsoe's normally in that 30 to 40 range, so 5,400 for him is a really, really nice deal, especially when you consider the Magic on the other side of things. The guard play is not exactly stellar, to say the least. They're going to be starting Markelle Fultz, who's obviously a very good player, but the Magic are just not going to be able to stop Milwaukee. I'm a Magic fan. This is going to be a 4-game sweep. I don't see any other way around it. Brook Lopez, I think, is very interesting at 4,700. He's been absolutely awesome in the bubble. 34-29. Had a tough game versus Toronto, but who doesn't? 49 versus Dallas, 30, 46, 33. You get the picture. He's been awesome. 4,700 is way too cheap on him. Just have to see your builds. I'll be honest with you, just because of the blowout potential, I just was very, like, anti-Bucks on my first couple builds. But I'll say this, you know, Keats and I joke about this all the time. Whoever we think is going to blow out just locks in that game's going to blow up and be the game that you probably should stack. So, you know, as I'm like talking out loud, I'm reconsidering that I might need to think more on the Bucks. I really do think that like Bledsoe and Lopez, just based on their price, are really good options. Then obviously Giannis is the elite route. Other route, DiVincenzo should be playing off the bench, but 4K, that's a really nice price on him. George Hill, you could take a stab at 3,700 too. I probably will not be on either of them. I think there's going to be some other values in the Miami game you prefer. On the Orlando side of things, only two guys I even want to really bring up. Evan Fournier, will need to have a huge game for the Magic to stay close. He is a top scorer on the team. Average 18.5 real points on the season. Look, he lives and dies by his shot. He's not exactly the most athletic player, but if he can get going, he could easily put up 30 DK here at 4,900, which is really nice. And the other play who I think will be very chalk is Markelle Fultz. Fultz obviously always does a little bit of everything, which, is a DFS player's dream. I don't know why the DK decided to price him at 4,200. But if he plays 28 to 30 minutes, he's going to smash that price. I think a really good chance to go for, 28 to 30 DK, which at 4,200 for value. For 5X, we're hoping to get like 22, 23. So you have a really good chance at 6X plus. All right, let's go over to the next game, which I think is going to have a ton of the ownership on the slate, which is Miami versus Indiana. Let's start out on the Miami side. And remember that this is the Butler Circle game. Last time these two played, after Butler missed a couple of games, he only played 29 minutes, yet dropped 50 DK. You don't remember what I'm talking about, the Circle game. TJ Warren and him got into a huge fight. Butler calling him soft, among other terms, and talking about how he will remember these games. I think Butler, from a narrative standpoint, is probably one of my favorite plays. I think 7,600 is really soft on his price tag too for Butler in the playoffs, who I think will take a more leading role. Bam Adebayo is fine at 7,400 too. We normally see him around the 8K range, so you get a little bit of a discount. I don't think my builds are landing me there, but if you kind of want to stack up this game, I think that's a great route. Where I'm starting to go on the Miami side, and what I'm most excited about is the value. So Goran Dragic should probably start once again. At the end of the bubble, after his injuries, he was playing really well. 43 DK in 28 minutes, 31 DK in 28 minutes, and then versus the Pacer, 33 DK in 30 minutes. And then top it all off, even in a shortened game, 35 DK in 22 minutes. Dragic's former All-Star, somebody in past years, that was 6-7K easily. So 4,400 if he's going to be starting. Even if he doesn't, but he's still playing huge minutes. But I do think I saw the tweet last night that Nunn is going to be on the bench, so Dragic should be starting. 4,400 is just way too cheap for his talent. Duncan Robinson, fine at 4,300. Just know that with Duncan, you're living and dying by the three. But that said, he's starting. Should see 30-plus minutes, so 4,300 is a very good price. Then Jay Crowder, I was just shocked by the price at 3,900. He is, once again, is another big guy who's been awesome in the bubble, averaging in that 25 to 28-minute range, but sub 4K. You get, 20 to 25 DK likely here. He will be guarding a little bit of TJ Warren, but I'd much rather him have a matchup versus TJ Warren versus having the matchup versus like Sabonis, who he will dodge as Sabonis is still injured. On to the Indy side of the ball, TJ Warren. Up to you what you want to do with TJ. Obviously, he was one of the bubble MVPs, but has slowed down. Miami, shockingly, with Butler doing a little bit of defending on him and just not letting him have his way, just struggled mightily, 18.75. But we know that before that, he had some of the biggest games in the bubble, 70 DK, 69 DK, 49 DK. 8,000, I think there is no sort of deal on him, so I want to have him in any lineups. But, I get it if you do. I do think that maybe the best play on the Indy side of the ball is Malcolm Brogdon. Brogdon is just, as Keats has said multiple times, one of our favorite players to target. When healthy, he is back to full health. I think that there's a good chance that he's in that 35 to 45 range. It's just going to depend on your build. I did not land over any 6,800, mostly probably because I'm looking at like two studs and Butler. But that said, if you are fading one, you probably very well could be in this range at 6,800. If you're going to be playing a decent amount of Miami pieces, it does make a lot of sense to run it back with the Pacers. Oladipo 6,200 is fine. I don't believe that he's sore ankle, but that was when the game didn't matter, so he should be back. And then I guess you could play like Justin Holiday. He's a little scoring dependent for me. I'd much rather take Jay Crowder all day. But, if you showed up with him, I wouldn't mind it. All right, let's go to Oklahoma City and Houston. And sorry, I completely forgot to give you the odds in total. So Miami and Indy is Miami by 4.5, 217 total. So let's go to Oklahoma and Houston. -2 total -2 for OKC, 225 total. Obviously, I should just go ahead and put him over here if I'm going to use this screen grab. But Harden should be in every single lineup. I'm not going to go over it. He could easily score 100 points here. So, and play 44 minutes. So, Mike D'Antoni in the playoffs is awesome. He goes to a 6 or 7 man rotation. So, let's lock Harden everywhere and just let anybody else that wants to fade the leverage, suffer. So let's continue to talk about Houston. No Russell Westbrook. So, I think that they're probably I joked that it was just 7 men. I think they're going to go 8 men deep. But, some of these guys are going to play huge minutes. Like Harden, if he does not think he needs to check out, he won't check out. The same could be said for Robert Covington, who at 6,500, I think is efficiently priced. I don't know about how you all build your NBA lineups. I always like to gravitate towards the values or the misprices first, and see, how I can fit studs in. That always is a way to build a really awesome floor and give you some upside as well. But Robert Covington, I think if you land in that mid 6K range, it's really just a really nice play. He's going to play huge minutes. He's going to get you rebounds. He's going to get you just enough scoring to get by. And, he's probably going to end with 30 to 40 DK. So he's just fine. I just don't think that he gives you tournament winning upside, which, if you're going to be in that mid 6K, that means you're giving up on some value or giving up on a stud. You really want your guy to be able to drop 50 to 60. And I don't think that Covington is the type that would do that. DraftKings really did a decent job on pricing up Houston. I was really hoping to see the Miami type of pricing for Houston, but House 5,700, Gordon 5,500, Rivers 53, Green 52, McLemore 46. That's all just really efficient, except for maybe even a premium on them. So I don't think I'll have anybody. The only one that I paused on was Eric Gordon. Assuming that we see and we don't hear anything that he's on a minutes limit, we know when, in past years when Chris Paul was out or when Russell Westbrook's out, he becomes the number 2 guy. We'll get a ton of shots. So I think in a tournament lineup, I like that thought. I don't think I'll be there in an optimal or cash. PJ Tucker is worth noting at 4,100. He's going to play a ton of minutes. It's just a really, really tough matchup for him versus Steven Adams. So, and I just don't think PJ Tucker gives you a ton of upside. That said, if you go back in past years, Tucker always steps up his game in the playoffs. So that's something I'm thinking about, because 4,100 for a guy that's probably going to play 37, 38 minutes, you can easily do a lot worse, and he should get pretty close to value. Let's go to the Oklahoma City side of the ball. Obviously, Chris Paul, this is a huge narrative game versus him, versus a team that he kind of had a big falling out with Harden and was traded in the offseason. 7,700, I think, is very, very, very fair on him. He's been playing well in the bubble. Probably, been awesome for a player like him that, needed some rest by the time the season was going to get that time off. But, in that 35 to 40 range, all bubble, I think, we're going to see a little bit of increased minutes, probably some increased usage for him that will put him closer to that mid 40s as my projection. So he is fine. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 6,900, I think is really solid. Only concern I have with him is if they make him get some Harden duties. I think what they'll probably do is start either – I didn't see the starters, so if it's out already, apologies that I didn't see it. But Dort is out, so they're probably going to start Ferguson, Roberson, or Diallo. And I would assume, since those guys don't have any sort of offensive role on the team, that they would be the sacrificial lamb to guard Harden. But Gilgeous might have to do a little bit as well. 6,900 is fine for him. I think I would take Brogdon all day over SGA. But if you wanted to get some more exposure to this game or go on a tournament route, I think that's fine. Gallinari, I've avoided all bubble because of a minutes limit. I think that minutes limit should be gone here. If so, he's always a threat for 30 plus and 30 plus real points. Will be a tough matchup versus Robert Covington, but I think that, the upside on Gallinari is there. Probably more of a showdown play, but I think worth mentioning. All season long, Dennis Schroeder has absolutely torn up Houston. I was really hoping that after he missed the entire bubble, he's gonna be 4,500, be like the Clarkson of today. No, 6,100 is an insane price for him. I don't know if I can do it, but if he shows up with 40 DK, I had an inclination it could happen. I just was not around for the party. I skipped over Steven Adams. I do just have the worry that this small ball Houston lineup could play him off the court, so I think I would avoid in game one. And let's just see how it goes. I don't think you're going to be fading any sort of crazy ceiling on him. It's hard to see Steven Adams dropping 60. But if you think he could, or you think he's just going to dominate Tucker, then go for it. At 64, if Adams was 5,400, I'd have to have a long conversation. But at 6,400, I go, why wouldn't I just play Brook Lopez at 4,700 and take that 1,700 somewhere else? Darius Bazley, let's see, how much he plays. I think 4,500 is a really good price on him in terms of being efficient. But he was huge at the end of the bubble. Really showed us that he should be a huge contributor for them. And this fits well because he could actually play some small ball center for them. And 4,500 I think fits a few builds, so I have interest there. And then if Diallo starts at 4K, I think that's fine. But if you see Roberson start or I call him Turd Ferguson because my cooler Army Dragon got so pissed on one showdown slate that he played and he was like, what a turd. So for some reason it's still in my head. But Terrence Ferguson and Roberson, they're just going to be zeros. If they get to value, it'd be shocking. So don't play them. I don't think that on this slate you need them at all. All right, final game, Portland versus LA. I was listening to a Low Post pod, and Zach Lowe just was talking about how Portland is beyond the worst defensive team in the bubble, that the effort is barely there. You would hope that in the playoffs the effort shows up. But I do think I want to start on the LA side, that LeBron and Anthony Davis both could absolutely go nuclear, specifically Anthony Davis. We've seen him destroy Portland before when he was back with the Pelicans. And they just have nobody that could guard him. We just saw what Jonas Valanciunas did in the one-game playoff versus Nurkic. Nurkic has this reputation as being a good defender, but I still think his lateral movement is lacking with his injury. They're not going to have Zach Collins. They're going to be starting Gabriel or having to go small with Gary Trent and playing Melo at the 4. Anthony Davis could absolutely do 30 and 20. So I think the decision between him or Giannis is really tough. Then obviously you have LeBron sitting there going, hey, just the second greatest player in the history of the NBA. And maybe by the time I'm done, I can argue that I'm better than Jordan, something like that. Hopefully that doesn't get too many people riled up. But yeah, they're both in the absolute nut matchup versus Portland, who plays with incredible pace, plays no defense. This game, has right now the highest total of the day at 2:30. This game could easily end 125, 120 if it stayed close. So part of me really wants a piece of this more so over Milwaukee, but now you can see why my struggle and why I'm not just locking in Giannis. So that's James and Davis. I think they're both elite play. Obviously in Showdown, those are the first two people that you click. It's kind of funny with that they're both priced under Lillard, who I think is going to have a little bit tougher time. They can toss the likes of KCP, Danny Green. They can toss some bodies at Lillard to at least give him some struggle. I think I'd prefer both LeBron and Davis over Lillard. Nurkic and McCollum are just priced way too high on this slate for me. Remember, LA is a really, really elite defensive team. So I think that Portland, at least in game one, could have their struggles. The plays that I would be considering in this game are way down here. I think KCP for 3,600 getting the start is fine. You've got obviously everybody's favorite Alex Caruso. I think 4,300 is a little expensive for him. There's some better Miami pieces. I'd play Duncan Robinson over him all day. But, you want to have some fun with it, go for it. JaVale McGee, 3,100. I think if you just need an absolute punt is in play. But the punt that I think might end up catching some steam that I am scared to death is going to end in my lineup because every time it does, it backfires so bad. But it's Danny Green, 3,200 for a guy that's probably going to play in between 28 to 32 minutes against a terrible defense. He's going to get one of the best passers in history to set him up for some threes. If he can just make some damn shots, get me to like 18 DK, if not more, and let me run away, Danny Green. But, we've seen plenty of these games that can get by at 3,200. I think it's a little bit soft of a price, and he fits some bills to give you some studs. So I think that's an option that you can go from LA if you need some salary savings. Well, guys, that's going to do it. I really do hope this helps and that you enjoy this game. Keats and I are going to continue to be doing a one-on, one-off. He's going to be covering the 4-game series and slates from yesterday, and I've got these. So let's get after it. Once again, Keith, a.k.a. Gator Guy 231. Good luck today and enjoy yourselves. See you.